I'm always looking for ways to create easy, healthy, protein-rich breakfast ideas that I can make ahead of time and add to my weekend meal prep. And these tender egg bites with cottage cheese and spinach are just that. I am telling you, they are so much better than Starbucks. And I'm also going to show you a must-know hack for keeping your egg bites and your egg muffins nice and moist and tender while they bake in the oven so you don't end up with tough, rubbery egg bites. Now, if we have not met yet, I'm Dani Spies. I'm an eating psychology and weight loss coach and the founder of Clean and Delicious, where we make healthy eating easy, delicious, and doable. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you know that I recommend starting the day with a delicious, nutritious, protein-rich breakfast, because this is going to help to support muscle maintenance. It's going to prevent energy crashes throughout the morning, and it's going to help you feel really fueled and satisfied until lunchtime. And these egg bites with cottage cheese and spinach check all the boxes. So first things first, I'm going to prep the oven, but what I like to do before I turn the oven on is I take a 9x13 pan and I fill it halfway with water. And then I'm going to place this on the bottom rack of the oven. Now, this is the secret to making super light and tender egg bites that are not rubbery, because the water is going to create steam in the oven, which is going to help the eggs to cook very gently. And this is what's going to create that super moist, super tender texture in your egg bites. It is a total game changer and a must-know hack. You have to try it and let me know what you think. Okay, so once that's in the oven goes on to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and then we're going to prep our filling. Now, I'm starting with 1 cup of baby spinach. I am a huge fan of buying these large bins of pre-washed leafy greens. It's super quick, it's super easy, and it's very convenient. So if you're having a hard time getting your greens in, this is a fantastic shortcut. So I'm just gonna give those a quick chop, get them nice and fine. And then I'm also using some bell pepper. I only need about 1/2 cup, so it'll probably be about half of my pepper. And you could do any color here. I'm using red because that's what I had on hand. Ultimately, to make these muffin cups, you need 1.5 cups of chopped up veggies. So you could really use whatever you have on hand. This would also be a fantastic opportunity to use any leftover vegetables you might have hanging out in the fridge. And then I also love adding just a little bit of feta cheese. It's nice and briny and salty. So I'm using 1.5 ounces of feta. And if you can, try to avoid buying the pre-made feta crumbles, because if you can find your feta in block form, you're going to notice that the flavor and the texture is superior to the pre-made crumbles. Okay, next up, let's talk about muffin pans, because there's nothing more annoying than when your egg bites or your egg muffin cups stick to the muffin pan. And what I have learned from trial and error is that it really all comes down to the integrity of your muffin pan. Meaning, if you have a muffin pan that's very old or has been around the block a few times, this is when the eggs begin to stick. But if you have a good quality, newer pan, this also goes for the silicone liners, the egg bites should literally slip right out with no hassle at all. So you want to make sure your pan is in good standing. Now, I learned this lesson the hard way, because when I was testing this recipe over the weekend, my first round got stuck in the muffin pan, and then my husband was like, I think we need a new muffin pan. So I ran to Target and I bought this muffin pan and also the silicone liners, and they seem great. They're working really well, but I can't speak to their longevity. That's something I'll have to circle back around on in a few months. I did have somebody on Instagram reach out and say that she's had the USA muffin pan for a few months now, or I think actually she said a few years, and she said it still performs really well. So if you're in the market for muffin pans or silicone liners, I'll link a few options down in the description box below. Now, you don't have to use the muffin liners, but I'm going to do half with and half without just to show you the difference. Both options work just fine. And I do like to spray the muffin pan and the silicone liners just for extra insurance. Once my pan is prepped, I'm just gonna take the fillings, the spinach, the chopped up peppers, and the feta cheese, and try to evenly distribute them amongst all 12 muffin cups. You're gonna end up with a couple tablespoons of filling in each muffin. Now, as for the egg and the cottage cheese combo, we're gonna blend these together in a blender. So I'm gonna start with 8 whole eggs, along with 1 cup of cottage cheese. I'm using a 2% low-fat cottage cheese, but you could absolutely do a full-fat or a low-fat depending on what you love or what you have on hand. And then I'm just gonna season this, but because cottage cheese and feta cheese are rather salty, I do not salt these muffins. I just do a little bit of black pepper and then a little bit of dried oregano. Then I'm just gonna blend this up until it's nice and smooth and creamy and the cottage cheese is all broken down. And if you did not already know this, I must say that cottage cheese and eggs, they are best friends. Not only do they taste delicious together, but combined, they create a protein powerhouse. 1 cup of cottage cheese adds 28 grams of protein to this recipe, and each little muffin cup delivers 6 grams of protein. From here, I'm just gonna carefully pour the egg and cottage cheese mixture into the muffin cups right over the veggies and the feta cheese. Now, you end up getting about 3/4 of a cup all the way to the top here, but sometimes what I like to do is I just go a little bit less than that. So I try to get them as even as possible. And then if I have any egg mixture left over, I go back and fill the cups. But what you're gonna see is that you should have a perfect pour for 12 muffin cups. Okay, from here, I'm just gonna pop them in that 350-degree oven. By now, that pan of water has heated up, so that's gonna help our egg bites cook nice and gently, and they're gonna be so tender and delicious. And I just let them go for about 25 minutes or until they're lightly brown over the top and set through. Now, I have to say, I am a big fan of intentional eating. This is a concept that I teach in detail inside of my monthly membership, the Don't Diet. Essentially, this is just when you take the time to think ahead and plan for what you want to eat the next day. This is a fantastic tool, specifically when you're working on health and or weight loss goals, because it just makes eating so much easier when you're not running around all day trying to think about where you're getting your food from or what you're going to be eating. This is also the reason why I am a huge fan of meal prep. Okay, once your egg bites are done, you're gonna see as soon as you take them out of the oven, they're gonna puff up really high, but then within about a minute or so, they come all the way down. They kind of deflate and they just look like regular muffin bites. And from here, you wanna let them cool at least until they're cool enough to handle. And if your muffin pan and or your silicone liners were in good standing, you will see that they slide right out of the pan and right out of the liners. It's so satisfying. These egg bites with cottage cheese are soft and tender, and they are packed with flavor. And you're gonna see that they have that same light, airy texture as the egg bites from Starbucks, but you're gonna see that these are even better, mostly because you made them. The best way to store your egg bites is to transfer them into an airtight container once they've cooled down and pop a lid on. They will happily last in the fridge for 4 to 5 days. So as always, I'm super excited for you to try this one. And if you love the combination of cottage cheese and eggs as much as I do, then I highly recommend you watch this video next where I'm showing you how to make a cottage cheese and spinach egg bake. So good.